When Elon Musk's XAI launched Grok a couple of years ago, the idea was to make it a, quote, maximally curious and truth-seeking AI. And the reason for that was AI safety, or at least Musk's rather peculiar take on the concept. So companies like Google and OpenAI try to make their AI safe by attempting to instill certain values into them, adding guardrails against things like hate speech and other risky behavior. Musk's idea was that if you make the AI sufficiently curious and truth-seeking, it'll find humanity so interesting that when it takes over the world, it'll decide to keep us around, won't kill us all. That's AI safety, according to Elon Musk. It's an interesting theory. So how has Grok fared in the last couple of years? This year, Grok started promoting the false theory of white genocide in South Africa to anyone who would ask. In fact, to people who wouldn't even ask, it would just bring up the concept of white genocide in South Africa, even for unrelated queries. If you can't tell from the vestiges of my accent, I'm South African, I'm white, and there's not a genocide going on. It's complete and utter nonsense. Then Grok started questioning the number of people killed in the Holocaust. Then it went full-on anti-Semitic, praising Hitler, calling itself Mecha Hitler, and calling for another Holocaust. Then, in the last couple of weeks, it said that Elon Musk was fitter than LeBron James, as intelligent as Leonardo da Vinci and Isaac Newton, and, oh, by the way, he could also take Mike Tyson in a fight. Remember, this is the guy who tried to orchestrate an actual cage match with Mark Zuckerberg of Meta, Facebook, and then chickened out when he perhaps realized that Mark Zuckerberg is actually pretty ripped. Anyway, Grok has now claimed that Auschwitz's gas chambers were designed for disinfection and not for killing thousands of people. That's a standard claim of Holocaust deniers over the years, and the French authorities are now investigating. It seems that Grok is less about being maximally curious and truth-seeking than it is about promoting its owner's far-right ideology and praising him as the best thing since sliced bread. It's a pretty extreme example of poisoning AI to become a tool of disinformation and manipulation. And luckily, it's a pretty easy to spot example, easy to explain for anyone who's paid any attention to Elon Musk's character, and it's easy to mock as well. When people noticed that Grok was praising him as being the best at everything, they got the AI to say that he was the world champion at drinking his own urine and performing certain sexual favors. Not all AI poisoning is so obvious, though. And before we continue, this is Tech Gets Real. I'm David Meyer. If you like this, please hit like and subscribe, and please share it with others who may also enjoy it. Last year, French disinformation investigators uncovered a Russian operation called Pravda, as in the name of the old Soviet newspaper. It means truth, which is incidentally one reason why I find the naming of Donald Trump's Truth Social to be so very, very funny. But anyway, this Pravda is a network of fake news websites that effectively launder Russian disinformation, propaganda. They take articles from Russian websites, they translate them into a bunch of European languages, and they seed them across all of these websites that nobody really reads. But what they do is they add them as sources to Wikipedia articles, particularly those in the Russian language, and they try to get AI bots to pick them up. So when the AI companies train their models, they want to find all the information on the web, and they use bots to go out and find that and to scrape that information. So the idea is if you can get those bots to pick up enough of this propaganda, they will take this as fact. It's a kind of data poisoning that people sometimes refer to as AI grooming. Now, there's not a lot of evidence as yet to show that this is a hugely successful tactic. A bunch of Harvard researchers last month said they had conducted an analysis of 4 of the biggest chatbots to try and test out this AI grooming theory, and they found little evidence to support it. To quote from their report, only 5% of LLM-powered chatbot responses repeated disinformation, and just 8% referenced Kremlin-linked disinformation websites. In most such cases, LLM-powered chatbots flagged these sources as unverified or disputed. Our analysis suggests these outcomes are not the result of successful LLM grooming, but rather a symptom of data voids, topics where reputable information is scarce. and low-quality sources dominate search results. Now, don't forget that the way that generative AI models, or LLMs, work is to give you answers that they think are statistically the likeliest to satisfy your request. So, if they don't have many sources of information to choose from, they are more likely to choose one of the few that are there. And if you pump stuff onto the internet that is nonsense, it's more likely to be picked up. So, that's the theory there. Their answer to this is, quote, strengthening the availability of trustworthy content on underreported issues, rather than overstating the threat of manipulation over AI by hostile actors. I would argue that they're pointing to a structural weakness in the current media landscape, which is that there isn't a lot of trustworthy content on underreported issues because they're underreported. That doesn't necessarily negate the idea that people are gaming the system. It rather explains the weakness that they're targeting. And in fact, one could argue that you would have better reporting of underreported issues and more trustworthy content out there if AI wasn't killing the media. But that's a topic for another episode. Either way, this seems to be the beginning of what some people are calling the machine web, where websites aren't built to be read by humans, but rather by AI bots. And this is an idea that's been quite enthusiastically pushed by the likes of Google, who have a vision where in a few years' time we won't be doing our own research, as they say. Instead, we'll simply be going to an AI chatbot and asking it to find us the information that we need, tell us what the truth is. And in a situation like that, where you've got such high levels of trust and such low levels of media literacy, low levels of people actually being able to go and tackle the source material for themselves, figure out for themselves what's true and what isn't, well, that's just a propagandist's dream. If the disinformation merchants aren't trying to pervert the system from below by poisoning or grooming AIs in that way, then, well, Elon Musk is showing how they can do it from above. Now, personally, I'm not a huge doomer on this front because I think people naturally want to have good information that they can trust, that they can look at themselves. But nonetheless, this is a vision of the future that some people are trying to push. A really insecure vision of the future where we're supposed to trust some corporate-controlled machine with the information that we take in. It doesn't have to be that way, though. First off, push back by going and checking the sources yourself. If you're using an AI chatbot to find some information, ask it to provide the sources, then go and have a quick look with your own two eyes. It really is not that difficult. And if we're using AI models as assistants to help us find information and not as kind of oracles, all-knowing, all-seeing founts of knowledge, then I think we can get the best out of AI without making ourselves incredibly vulnerable to misinformation. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode. As I say, if you did, please like and subscribe. Please share it with others who may find it useful, and I'll see you next week.